Hello, everyone. I am Erika Barbosa from GreenGeeks. Thank you for joining us today to the webinar on WordPress users by Marco Berrocal. I hope you enjoy it, and I think Marco is ready to start. Hi, Marco. Welcome. I can hear you.
Hello. Hey, how are you? How's everybody? Sorry, caught me a little bit. Okay. So, hello everybody, and welcome to today's webinar. I guess we're going to get going. First of all, for those of you who are new, please make sure that any questions that you may have, you can leave in the QA sections or chat sections. And second rule is to have fun. And the third thing, it's optional, but if there's any topics that you would like us to cover for future webinars, do let us know. We're always on the lookout for more topics to discuss. Believe it or not, 18 months after the pandemic has started, we have not ran out of topics to discuss. So that gives you gives you an idea of how powerful WordPress truly is. Now, to mention a little bit about myself, I am a self-taught WordPress plugin theme, and I do something else. Yeah, I do also plugins developer. I have worked with WordPress extensively over the last 11 years. I have, okay, that's a good idea. So I worked extensively with the WordPress API. I have spoken in numerous WordCamps, which are conferences related to WordPress, and I'm very big into WordPress. It has been my life for the last 11 years, so I'm really, really excited to speak about it, online and offline. I like both. So today is a hand-picked subject that I decided I wanted to discuss with you guys. And it's about WordPress users. So let's get things going. Erika will handle the questions and whatnot. Hope you're doing well, by the way. I didn't say hello to you, or did I? I don't know. So without further ado, let's get things going. So what are we going to learn today? So briefly, from the webinar description, we discussed a little bit about permissions and roles. We are going to discuss those. We are going to discuss how to create our own, specifically roles, because permissions are kind of locked as far as WordPress is concerned. We are going to mention something we discussed in previous webinars, which has to do with security and users. It's really, really important that you guys understand this, because usually users can be a culprit as far as getting sites hacked or compromised, and alongside your data with it. We're going to play with some cool plugins, or I'm going to mention some plugins to try stuff out, because we are going to discuss users, and of course members is part of that equation, even though it's not the same thing. But, some of you may have ideas as to what you would like to do using a WordPress website, and it has to do with users and members and whatnot. So we are going to try that stuff out. And the last, don't get scared, it's called metadata and users. Metadata it's a fancy word. I'll explain it to you guys as to what it is. So what are we going to need? Aside from your GreenGeeks account, which I hope all of you have. If not, it's okay. We still get going. You're going to need a WordPress site, WordPress website. Could be local, could be online. Any theme and any plugins are okay. It's up to you, really, what you want to do with it. And I do have to say a word to the wise. We are going to code a little bit, specifically because I'm going to show you both options. And because I am a developer, so I'm going to show you the other side as to how to get a job done without the use of a plugin, should you have any restraints as to if you don't have any restraints. Like if you are okay with code, you should be good to go. Next up is, why is all of this important? Why is knowing about users important? I would say the first reason, it gives you more power. Power to what? I would say to administrate your business, to be more efficient, to be more scalable, and that has to do a lot with item number 2. Like it or not, when we have businesses, you are going to need people to do stuff for you. So it's good, it's important that you understand these things so that you can make the decisions for your employees, and they can follow more or less the guidelines as to what you expect as a business owner or as an administrator or as a manager. It's important to know these things because it's especially true when it comes to security, because sometimes not only in life and love, but also in business, we tend to trust people. And I don't know what the laws in the United States are or other various parts of the world, but sometimes employees may do things that are highly unethical, and it's a fact of life. So it's good to know what the restraints are in order to avoid this, or it could be something purely accidental. And again, it's really, really important that you know these things in order to move on. Okay, so what type of users does WordPress have? So out of the box, there are 5 types of users. The one is the administrator. This is the default user that gets installed when you set up WordPress for the first time. So an administrator is the highest possible user. There's also another user, which I'll discuss in a minute. But let's say, for example, you install a WordPress website, standard WordPress website, and you will have an administrator. Second role, I'm mentioning them in order of privileges. So the administrator will have the most and subscriber will have the least. So the administrator will have the most. That person can do pretty much anything they want to within the website. It has a very, very powerful access. It has access to everything pretty much. The editor is also a powerful user, but cannot do some of the things that administrator can. Author, contributor, and we go down to subscriber, which I think can only read articles within a website. Now, the role model that WordPress has kind of resembles of a newspaper. So if you look at the editor, the author, and the contributor and subscriber, they more or less follow the newspaper business model, where an editor actually checks all the articles, proofreads articles that authors do. Contributors could be people from outside the newspaper that write articles, so they don't have a lot of access. And a subscriber is just a newspaper subscriber who can pretty much read articles online. So these are the 5 roles that WordPress offers out of the box. It's important to note, and I mentioned something higher than an administrator, there's also something called a super administrator. So a super administrator is only available when you have WordPress as multi-websites. With WordPress, you can install multiple websites within a single installation of WordPress. So it's like one WordPress install, different websites. So a super administrator can administer all of those, whereas an administrator can only administer one website within that multi-user setup. So yeah, those are the 5 users roles that WordPress has. Now you may be wondering, so what are the specific differences between one and the other? I have given you guys this link. Let's copy this and let's open this in a new window. So let's go over here and we're going to paste this. Oh, sorry. Paste that and let's paste this. So this is an infographic. We're going to leave that in the chat room. So basically you can see what the permissions are. So an administrator, as you can see, as I scroll below, I'm sorry, it can do pretty much anything they want to, whereas an editor has only limited capabilities. As you can see, an editor can't activate plugins, so an editor won't see this. For example, an editor can't create users, so an editor won't see this. For example, editor can't edit content, for example, so an editor won't see the tools, for example, where you can input and export content and so forth and so on and so on. So these are things that are defined on a role-to-role basis. And as you can see, the subscriber is the one that can only read a website, and a contributor can read, edit, and delete posts. So a contributor can't even publish their own stuff. They can't write anything else. They can only read, edit a post, and delete posts. An author, like I said, can do posts that are of that same person. So I can actually do articles on my own, but I can't edit other people's articles, whereas an editor can do that for other people's posts and whatnot. So it's a really cool feature that you can actually see. So for example, and we'll see that later in the security feature of this webinar, you may want to think about whether your employees are going to have access to the user panel, for example. It doesn't make sense because you can only trust one person to do that within your organization and leave the rest without this or without settings and all that sensitive stuff that belongs to your website. Okay, so moving along, those are the things that you can actually do on a role by role basis. Now, more to the wise, I think roles are one thing, capabilities are another. Someone raised their hand. That's nice. I like that feature. So roles, a role, think of it as a list of capabilities that specific role has. So to word that, to make that a little bit more understandable, hold on, because my computer caught up a little bit. Okay, so make that a little bit more understandable in these terms, in this infographic. So all of these permissions are capabilities from a WordPress perspective. So there's tons of capabilities that WordPress has out of the box. For that, you go to this URL that I'm leaving over here. And as you can see, roles capabilities are exactly these. So these are all capabilities that WordPress offers out of the box. So I can't list them all because we would completely run out of time or explain them all to you, but you can click on them and you can read more as to what that capability is. As you can see, it's a ton of things that the person can do. And last but not least, the subscriber can read. So all of these are capabilities. So capabilities is what can you do? Like, am I allowed to do something? So of course, if you want to create your own users or you want to edit existing, you can create your own roles, or you can edit existing roles. Like for example, let's say that editors can edit posts, for example. So you can assign that to an editor role, and now the editor will have that role tied in to that role. So when you create users for that specific role, they will want to have that capability. So I know I made I made a huge sandwich about roles and capabilities. So once again, capabilities is a list of what you can do within WordPress, whereas role is a list of capabilities. So of course you can assign different capabilities to different roles, or you could remove capabilities from a role, or you could create users custom tailored for your specific capabilities. So that's why WordPress is one of the reasons why it's so cool, and it's because it's so powerful. It can allow you to do these things out of the box, and it allows you to give you the flexibility that you are going to need in order to have your business website without knowing what the industry is going to be. So make sure you keep that URL in mind, because it's really, really important. So next up is, can we change or create our roles? Absolutely. So there are two ways you can do that. First of all, I'm going to use the plugin way, which is the easier way. And one of the plugins I've over the years stumbled with and used a lot is this one. It's the user role editor. I'm going to go into my WordPress installation over here, and it's this one. It's this one over here. Let's delete it so that you guys can actually see it in action again. So if we go to add new and we type in user role like that, a lot of things will open, of course. And it's this one. It's with the little masks here. I don't know what he was thinking when it came to designing this. It's a little scary, but whatever. So next up, when you do this, it's a really, really capable plugin, because once you activate this, there we go. Once you activate this, you can go to users, and you can go to user role editor. So as you can see here, it has all these little words that are here are going to be exactly here. And we can toggle that so you can show capabilities in human readable form. Of course, we want that. We want all of this. And we want all of this. So as you can see, there's a lot of them. So if, for example, I want to do an editor, this is what an editor can do. And I can, for example, allow an editor to activate plugins. So if I toggle this, an editor will have that capability to do so. So as you can see, you can change these roles pretty much on the go. It's a really, really cool plugin, and it does the job pretty well. So I highly recommend this if you are not very lenient or interested in coding. And as you can see, subscriber is the least role. It's one of the least privileges. It only has, doesn't have anything. Yeah, I can only read, right? Yeah, so can only read. So if, for example, hold on, let me toggle this. Good. So for example, if I want to have users export or subscribers, I can just click on that and just hit the update button, and I would be done with that. This plugin is really, really cool because you can add your own roles as well on the spot. Like you can click over here, you can add your new role. Like for example, I don't know, webinar attendee or attendee. And I want to make this a copy of the editor because that's the one I like. And I'm going to add that role. So that role is going to be created successfully. It's going to be right here. As of right now, it has all the options and features of an editor. But again, you can toggle that to your own liking, and you can modify that to your own needs. So if you go over here and you add a new role, you should see the attendee over here. So that makes it a really, really cool feature in order to add roles on the spot, because you can make a copy of one of the preset roles that come out of the box, and you can edit that and make sure you don't mess up the original one. So I guess it's like making a copy of a file or something, and you edit the copy and not the actual original file. Should you make any mistakes, or if you, for example, accidentally I don't want to save this. So if you, for example, accidentally delete a capability within that role. So if I toggle this or toggle that and I hit the delete or delete role, you still have, you will still have the copy of that. So again, this is one way to do it. Another way to do it would be to do it yourself programmatically. I'm going to code a little bit. I'm going to try to explain as to what the code does, and I am going to tell you guys, what the advantages of this is. So I am going to open this over here, and let me open my editor. I'm going to open this really quick. Yes, I trust this is my IDE editor. So this is my theme over here. As if we go to appearance and we go to themes, you will notice that I have a blank, what looks to be a blank theme, but in reality, it's just a child theme of 2020. So if we visit the website over here, I toggle this, I click on this, and it's going to open a 2020 theme. Now, I use child themes because it's a recommended way of overwriting custom themes without modifying the original one. So it's just a simple file. We're going to ignore this, and we are going to go into our functions file, which is a very special file. And now what we're going to do is I want to, for example, let me see. I want to add a role. Let's call that role add role, and it's something like that. If we, for example, hit this and we go to WordPress, like that on Google. We do that, we'll see this developer resource, and it's this function, add a role if it does not exist. So the role is expected in 3 parameters. The first one is called a string, which is a role name. We are going to use this, I don't know, manager. We're going to call this guy a manager. Okay. The second parameter, it's going to be the display name. Display name for the role. We're going to be really, really original and do it as store manager, like that. And the third requirement is the capabilities that this person is going to have. Now, if you see this, it's an array and list of capabilities, keys by the capability name, AG, array, edit, post, true, delete, post, edit, false. So that basically means that it's going to be an array like this. So we're going to put a word called array. We're going to do it like that. And I am going to put a comma like this. And now what can that person do? So remember the whole role list and capabilities over here. So you basically select these like that, and you put them in the parentheses. You hit the equal sign, greater 1, and you set this to true or false, depending on what that value is. If it's true, of course, that person is going to have that role. And if, for example, you put manage options to false, it's not going to have that. But I'm going to put that to true because the defaults are going to be false. If I leave them blank, it's going to be false. So I want to make sure that it has some privileges like that. And I'm going to go like this, and I'm going to set this to true. So I'm just going to leave it like that. And if I go over here and check on the plugin, let's check on the plugin and use a role editor. And now you should see my manager. You should see it over here. It's my store manager over here. And this person is going to have exactly the 3 things I listed, and it's not going to have the rest. Now, I know this is a little bit confusing. This is a little bit more confusing. This is a little bit more intimidating. But again, from a development point of view, it's much more efficient to do this than to install the plugin and have that bunch of options there in order to administer your website. I just think it's far easier to maintain because I'm using things on a case-by-case basis. I'm not having the whole shebang here and having all these options available to me if I only need to create a quick role called manager and just add that, okay? So that's one of the cool things that that person, role is going to have. So that's one way to do things, okay? So the next thing is the security thing. With great power comes even greater responsibility. So how many users do we really need, and how much do they need to know? That is the question that you should always ask yourself as far as users are concerned. And I'll tell you why. Because if we go to this website that I have installed, this demo website that is somewhere around, oh, it's right here. It's somewhere around here. If we go to users and we hit the all users over here, right now we only have 5 of them. We only have 5 of them. They have different roles, but 2 of them have an administrator. And let's say I am this guy. I am this guy, and I keep my password safe. I'm really uptight about security, and I keep my password safe. I don't compromise my data, and my password is really difficult to guess. But let's say Gabby over here, she is really special, and she did something like this when she signed up with WordPress. When I gave her I did something like this. I did something like this. Like, for example, I did something like this. Okay, so let's say I did something like this, and I saved it, and that person signed up, and that person gets hacked. Now this person is going to have access to all of this dashboard. So imagine if you had a business, for example, that handles a WooCommerce store, or let's say you had a learning center with all your customers that have subscribed, or you have a newspaper, or you have any sort of list that has users, that has data, that has something that other people can actually use for malicious effects. then you are in a little bit of a pickle. And if you followed along my security webinar, you can actually see this option over here. It's called the plugin editor, I think. And exactly. So now I have access to all the plugins as well, and I can pretty much do what I did here. I can do that here, and I'll have access to pretty much anything I can think of, especially if I am very well versed as far as WordPress is concerned. So I have access to the plugin editor, where all the plugins are, and I have also access to the theme editor, which are the files that I was just editing a while back, which is this file over here. If you take a look at this and see these lines over here is exactly what I wrote over here. So it's a really dangerous thing. It's a really dangerous slippery slope. I think it's the correct term. So this is why being careful about what your users have and what the capabilities is going to be is essential to have a secure WordPress website. So as usual, or as always, I recommend solid passwords. Make sure these passwords are difficult to guess and not admin, for example. Don't use admin as the username. If you took a look at what I did here, hold on. If you took a look at what I did here, I usually like to do admin and then a hyphen and then something descriptive, so that that person is not going to guess that username so easily. Make sure that you do that as well. Also make sure that, again, assign admin roles to essential personnel only. So if you have an employee that you can trust, an employee that you can rely on, an employee that's not going to get you into trouble, well, you're going to give that person the admin role, and that's that. But the rest of the personnel doesn't need to have access to that. Update user roles and and users themselves when employees leave, when they resign or when they unfortunately have to go. Make sure that you go over here and you just delete the user, or just make sure that the capabilities is set to none, because this is going to reduce the risk to do so. As you can see, you can assign capabilities for a particular user. That's also doable with WordPress, and you can do that with a plugin as well. So make sure that when a person leaves, you can actually, modify that information so that person no longer has that. It's also important that you understand all of what I just said, so that you can assign the appropriate roles to those specific users. Okay. So now we are going to play with some of the plugins that will get the job done. So I'm just going to show them to you. I'm not going to install them per se. I handpicked these, for example. This one, for example, it's a really cool plugin that also, again, allows you to edit and modify roles and users on a case-by-case basis. This is in case you are not really happy with this one, you want to try something else. If I go over here, I think it's one of the first ones I saw. I am going to deactivate this. Just make sure you deactivate and you use only one at a time, so that there's not a clash between the user role, because this one is probably going to be amongst the first. I think it is. If I go over here, it's this one, correct. So I can install this. And hit the activate button. And now I should be under, did I activate this? Yeah, it's right here, edit roles. So I can, it was in capabilities. So as you can see, this has a whole different layout, a whole different way of doing things. Again, there's no hard and fast rules as to what you can use. I think this is a little bit more intimidating because it's a little bit harder to read. But again, it's up to you. If you like this better, you can go ahead and use that. But this is definitely one of them. It has also menus. I don't know what these are for. Admin menus. Oh, I guess I'm gonna have to pay. So okay, sure. So again, this is a plugin that does that. I am just going to show you. I'm going to show you a couple of them, and then from there on, you just make your own decision. So we also have this, which I think was visible when we install that. We have plugins over here. Let me fiddle with that a little bit. Let's deactivate this guy. So I'm gonna add a new. I think I saw this one, user roles like that. And it's this one, right? Yeah, it's WordPress. As always, make sure you look at what the active installation was when it was the last time it was updated, and if it's compatible with our current WordPress version. So it seems like this one also is. Okay, there we go. So members, it's over here, the little icon here. And again, you click on it and it's really up to you. I mean, you can add a new role and you grant, deny capabilities. Again, it's the human readable form of what we discussed previously. Some people might like this better than the other one. I personally like, the first one I actually showed you guys. And again, always know that there's a pro version. You can, for example, this one over here, you charge members for your protected content. So this is very useful if you have a newspaper, for example, or if you have a private, I don't know, let's say you have a private manual as to how to make more money online, or bitcoins, or knowledge that you can get access to if people pay for it. Well, you can use a plugin such as this one in order to do that and manage your particular users. So I am just going to list the rest because I don't want to go on a case-by-case basis. But for example, we have this one as well, which is the user access manager. This one I didn't try out, so I can't vouch for this, but this one was recommended by WordPress. If you scrolled all the way down over here, by the way, these are the roles. You can see what it does, but if you go all the way down here, you can see what some of the plugins that WordPress recommends. It's visible here, and this was one of them. So I can't vouch for this one. I didn't actually use it. We also have this one over here. Again, it's from the same creator as the first one I showed you guys. This guy, Vasil Martiniuk. So he has a different, different one. I guess this one has to do with access. I'm not completely sure, but again, this is something that you can fiddle along with it. And the last one, which I did take a look, and it was pretty simple, but it did the job as well, just as the others. It's called WP Front. User role editor. It's the same feature as the previous one. It's just a different way of getting the job done. So as you can see, this is why I prefer this, because as I search for things, this took me way less than doing the whole other thing, like searching, well, what plugin should I use? I'll just use that and I'll just put this code in, and whenever people go to my website and they just go to users, add new, and the stuff that I need is going to be there. And that was that. I mean, it's really that simple. So, you can, of course, remove capabilities. Plugins do that. For example, they actually do that. Plugins that I previously mentioned, they can remove capabilities out of a role. Okay, so going back to what the capabilities are, let me go back to plugins and let me use the one I like. Definitely not this. It was this one. Yes, let me deactivate this one and activate this one. Okay, so for example, let's say I want to remove capabilities from an author. So if we go over here, we go to users and we go to user role editor. I go over here and I just want to remove the capability of the, for example, I don't know, the store manager, what I previously did. If I want to do that, I just hit this button and get it over with. I mean, it's really simple. You just update and you removed it. Or you can altogether just delete the capability. But let me see if I have to do this. Does it delete all the ones? Here we go. So it deletes the capabilities that I currently have checked, I think. No, it doesn't. That's really odd. Oh, that doesn't work as intended. Let me see. Capability, columns 2, 3. Oh, here we go. I want to delete a capability. See, this doesn't work as intended, so I can't vouch for it. But for example, if we want to delete a capability out of a user, let's say we want to do, I don't know, we want to do, okay, let's say we want to do the author, but there's also another thing I wanted to show you guys with code, of course. If we wanted to add a role that copies the role of someone else. So again, you can use this function called add role. And let's say, for example, we want to use something called a professor or a teacher. And we want to copy, let's say, teacher of this teacher. But now, instead of doing this array over here of all the permissions and all that stuff, we can use something, we can use a function called get role. We can use get role, and let's say, for example, I want the administrator like this, and I just use an arrow like that and just put capabilities like that, capabilities like that. I think it's like that, yeah. Get role administrator capabilities, and that didn't work. Oh, because I made a comma over here. That didn't work. So if I go over here, hope to God it works. And I hit the add new button. This person should be here. A teacher is going to be here. But if I verify this with the role editor and I go to teacher, as you can see, all of them are checked. So this was just a fancy way of copying things like that. Or again, you could just go over here and copy a role or just add a role like that and make a copy of that. Well, so basically what I did there is just this with a graphical user interface. But again, I'm doing this on a need to know or a case-by-case basis. I'm not doing this for everybody because I don't want to leave the door open for everybody to edit this or to tweak with this or to do stuff with it. And this is something that I've gathered over the years of experience. You know, with clients, you give them the least amount of privilege in order to do things because sometimes they'll make mistakes accidentally, or that leaves the door open for things to go wrong. So it's in this regard, I like Apple's approach where you give the least amount of information in order to mitigate what the negative impact of plugins such as these, because these are really, really powerful features and you can actually do a lot of damage with it. But going back, circling back to what we were discussing about removing roles. So let's say we want to remove some of the roles for this particular person, right? So we want to remove that. For example, let's say, I want to remove some of the roles for this particular person. So let's say, I don't know, I want to do something called teacher like that. And I want to get role again, get role. And I want to do teacher and teacher. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, correct. So I'm going to do that. And let's say I want to remove capabilities. Again, this is an array like this one over here. It's this one over here. So I can just copy and paste that. But I am going to actually type it. I'm going to do an array like this. And let's say I want to remove the capabilities of editing posts, edit posts. Again, all of these words, I am gathering them from here, from the roles and capabilities that WordPress offers. Let me go to the top real quick. So all of these are available. So let's say I want to disallow teachers to delete pages as well. I want to do it like this, make sure it's within a single quotes, and make sure there's a comma after every value. And let's say, for example, I want them to delete posts as well. I don't want them to do that. So I want teachers to do everything an administrator can, except for these options over here. So edit, publish posts. I'm going to copy just a couple of more. I'm going to do it like that. And I'm just going to do, like that. So I have this array of permissions that I want to delete, that I want to remove. So I can go ahead and do a for each loop, which is a special way that you can reiterate over things and remove capabilities as, let's say, capability like this. We are going to open that, and we are going to get rid of the teacher and teacher like that. And we are going to call a special function called remove capability. It's this one over here. So we do like Google like that, remove cap WordPress, and we click on that. The first result, it says remove a capability from a role. So the string is going to be the capability name. So it's basically, we are going to, in this for each loop, we are going to iterate over this. And for the teacher role, we are going to remove that capability. So remove cap, and we are going to put between parentheses the actual string, which is capability, as you can see in this for each loop over here. So we're going to go do that. We're going to do that, and then we're going to hit the save button over here, and teacher should now have some of those roles removed, which are these roles exactly that we removed. Now, I know, again, this is way easier. This gets the job done. Why should I know about this? But again, it's a good feature to have in case you want to do it programmatically and you don't want to expose people to do this kind of stuff or have the capability to do this stuff with users. Okay, so it's really, really important that you keep that in mind. So next, you may want to have a membership website. Some people are really, really cool about that. So I'm going to mention them a little bit. I am not going to go into the final, the nitty-gritty details as to what you could do with it. But for example, one really, really, really important and historical plugin has been BuddyPress. BuddyPress, like this, BuddyPress WordPress. It's a really, really popular plugin, and it's an open source social network package. It's owned by the people that made WordPress possible, which is called Automatic. It's this one over here. So again, you can build online communities using this specific plugin. It's a tremendous plugin. I highly recommend it if you are thinking about having your social network or having any type of users interaction within your website. So let's deactivate this a little bit, and let's get the add new button over here, and let's BuddyPress over here, BuddyPress. And we're going to install it now. It's a really, really complete plugin. Let's see. Let's activate this. So again, it's really a matter of what do you want to do with it, and does BuddyPress solve this feature for me? So latest activities, I want to close this, and activity over here. I don't know what the activity was, I forgot. BuddyPress settings. Hello, BuddyPress. Okay, so yeah, so you have this, you have extended profiles, you have account settings, you have, activity streams, private messages. So can those persons do those things within each other using your WordPress install? So again, if you want to have a social network things, BuddyPress is going to be a solution out there that is going to be good for you. Another cool membership website. It's called it's called MemberPress. Now, some of these are not free. Some of them will are paid, most likely all of them. But again, this is a basic version. You could demo things out. They sometimes give you ways to demo. So I'm not going to get into those details for now, but I am going to explain what some of these do. Like, for example, LearnDash is a very popular plugin that is for people who are in the teaching industry. So let's say, for example, you are a chef and you want to have courses about becoming a chef, like, for example, cooking 101, how to pick up my knives, how to sharpen my knives, or how to Indian food, pasta, etc., etc. Well, you can have these courses available to your users for a fee, of course, using something like LearnDash. So LearnDash, you can install it, you can configure it, and you can adjust that to your specific needs. Now, recently I spoke to a friend of mine, my best friend, she's a psychologist, and I told her, listen, you are like missing the whole wave of learning online. You could easily put some content that is going to be for premium users only, where they can enroll. She's very much into positive parental positivism. I don't even know the term, but it has to do with raising kids in a positive manner. Or, for example, she deals a lot with love, of course. She's going to have a lot of work there. So she deals a lot with emotions. So I told her, listen, you should get something like LearnDash and just put your courses up there. So if you're thinking about, giving courses, if you have an expertise, and you can totally use your WordPress website and extend it to a much more sophisticated platform using something like LearnDash. BuddyPress, we already discussed. WooCommerce offers that as well, but the downside for WooCommerce is that you're going to have to install the WooCommerce plugin. And of course, this does not come for free. It's $200 billed annually. Again, options are out there. It helps you for, like, for example, an online magazine, e-learning websites, anything that you can sell using WooCommerce. You can totally use a membership in order to allow people to become a member of your website and get access to exclusive content. Okay. Again, these are two other more that I'm not going to mention. I just wanted to mention the most popular ones out there so that you have a brief idea as to what they do. And finally, because now my webinars are a little bit shorter than usual, we are going to discuss what user metadata is. So it's really just a fancy word for information regarding your profile. Okay. So if you guys took a look at over here, let me go here and let me deactivate this guy. Where's BuddyPress? Let me deactivate this. So if you guys went over here and you hit on users, you click on any user, like, for example, me. If you click on that, you see all of this data, like first name, last name, nickname, my email address, what my website is, all in one SEO added these guys. Like, for example, my Twitter and Facebook, a little bit about myself, all this information. It's what's called user metadata. So it's sometimes cool to use this if, for example, you have articles and someone really popular writes it, or you have you are a renowned person within your organization and people know you and people want to know more about you. They want to know, like, your Twitter handle. They want to follow you on Instagram, stuff of that nature. You can add that to your user profile in order to extend that. So again, it's a cool feature to have, the user data for just user experience in general. So more information about that particular author. So it's just a fancy word to use that. Again, I'm not going to get into specifics as to how to add, remove, or insert data like this. There are plugins that do that. Unfortunately, I can't give you guys any plugins that I actually use. But for example, here, and let's fiddle with this a little bit. 2020. Let's fiddle with this a little bit. And if I go over here, okay, Okay, if I go over here, let me copy this and let me paste this here. And now let me go back into my editor. So this is basically an article. So if I go over here and go to all posts, I just want to look at an article. I want to view this article. Hello world, welcome to WordPress. This is and I'm going to echo, this is Marco. Okay, this is Marco. I'm just going to do that. And as you can see, yeah, here I am. So this is Marco, and I'm going to put this a little bit like that. This is Marco. I just wanted to overwrite that, make sure that I have the right one. Well, I do, but this is not the nicest place to do that. But let's say, for example, I want to display something about myself. For example, I don't know, we can use something like, let's see, author data is going to be get user meta. It's this function over here. This function, what it does is this get user meta, it's going to call all the information about the user. If we go over here, users, and click on this. So this function over here is going to call and print out all the information that I have here relatively available. I need to supply it with an ID. So there's two ways to do that. You can actually do that manually if you know what you're doing. I think it's over here, admin CLI. Actually, I don't know what I'm doing either. So I can't add that information as well, but let me see if I can do it like this. Maybe I need to have an ID here, but I don't remember. I think it's 1 for me, but let me think about it. Author ID equals, I think it's post author. Please let it write post author. No, that post author. And let me see if author ID is going to work like this. So let me see. And now I want to print our author data like that. So let's do it like this. See what happens. And that worked. So let's echo this out. And I'll explain to you guys in a minute what my code does. This should look really nice now that there you go. So to explain to you guys what I did. So first of all, in order to get this value, the author data, which is going to print all of this information, I needed to know what the ID was. Since I don't know what my ID is, because I have absolutely no idea what it was, I needed to get that ID. So I called this variable called post, which is the variable that is available when you are looping through posts in WordPress. And then I called this one the post author, which is an ID that I get. So basically what it says is I'm going to get the ID of the person who wrote this post, which in this case, it's me because I'm the administrator. It's my blog. So then I use the get user metadata function with that ID. And then I just print that information so that I can actually see it in action. And where was it? It's over here. So this information is cool because if you, for example, want to highlight something about myself, like, I don't know, let's say like an H2 over here, let's say echo H2, H3, post written by, and I can use something like that. So I can use author data. I can use something like author, wait, author data. And then you just take a look at what the value here is. And in this case, I don't have a name. Oh, let's put myself a name. Let's put myself a name. So if I put myself a name over here, this is going to be viewable. Of course, like here, nickname, description, and let's put a description over here. Is this my description? Something like that. Let's hit the update button. And let's see if this, yeah, this is my description. So let's say I want to post written by author data. And now I want to use my first name. So I use something like this. First name, and then between parentheses, I think it's 0, right? Because this, yeah, this is 0. So it's going to be like that. And then a dot in order to concatenate, which is a fancy word for gluing together. And if I refresh over here, and let me get rid of this, let me comment that out, and post written by blank. So that didn't work. Let's see, author data, first name. Was it like that? Oh, maybe it's because it's like this, because it's a multi-dimension, right? Like that. And WordPress is telling me I made a mistake. Post written by, oh, right, this. So if I refresh over here, I get exactly this. So post written by Marco. If I change, for example, the article itself, like, for example, I want to quick edit this and I want to change this. Who wrote this? Let's say Don Draper did. Don Draper. And if I do like that and I refresh over here, be the one who wrote it, but he's going to be blank, of course, because Don isn't set. Don, where is Don? Don is over here, all users, because Don Draper doesn't have a name. Don, he is the best. If I go over here and I refresh, so Don Draper is now my author, as you can see over here. So this is really a dynamic way of showing that information, showing that meta information to users. And if I want to get even fancier, I just copy this, but I am going to replace this with a P over here. And now I am interested in the description. I think it was, this was the field. I'm not sure. Let's take a leap of faith. Yeah, post written by, he's the best man, and I am going to get rid of this. Like that, refresh, he's the best, madman. So as you can see, the metadata allows me to insert that. Now, I know programmatically, it's a little difficult to get this going, but user metadata is available for anywhere you write content, and that enhances the user experience even further. And with that, I think we are done. Yeah, we're done. So thank you very much. I'm really happy and hope you guys did learn something. Even if it's a small thing, make sure as a word, you can follow this up offline through our social media and I think YouTube channel, which is where we upload that stuff. So if you want to review that again, definitely possible. Okay, and if you have any questions, of course, feel free to ask and we'll be happy to answer them for you.
Yes, thank you, Marco. Well,
Right?
I think the rest of the week we have a great time and see you next time. Thank you, Marco.
All right, cheers.
Thank
Bye
you,
bye.
everyone. Bye.
Bye bye, Chechi. Bye.